Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to plunge into a topic that, well, it resonates with absolutely everyone. How we think about money, how we handle it, and what building financial freedom actually means.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Definitely. We're deep diving into a book that many people have called life-changing for its insights on exactly this.
hmm
So our source material today is this fantastic review of Robert Kiyosaki's incredibly popular book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
A classic, really.
Right. And this review wasn't just positive. It gave the book a perfect 5 out of 5 stars.
Hmm.
Why? Because it apparently completely shifted the reviewer's whole perspective on money and investing.
Wow. Okay. That's high praise.
It really is.
Yeah.
So our mission here is to pull out the most important nuggets of wisdom from this really influential book. We want to give you a kind of shortcut to understanding its key financial ideas and maybe some surprising insights that could genuinely reshape your own money mindset.
Sounds good. Where do we start?
Okay, let's unpack this. The whole story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad is built around Robert Kiyosaki's own life, specifically looking through the lens of his two dads.
Right, the core concept.
Exactly. So first you have his poor dad, that was his actual biological father, highly educated, had a good government job, seemed stable on the surface. But the book explains he constantly struggled with money, always felt that scarcity.
Hmm. The traditional path, but financially stressed.
Precisely. Then you've got the rich dad. Now, this wasn't his real dad. It was his best friend's father. And the key difference, this dad didn't have much formal education.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but he learned somehow how to build serious wealth through businesses and, smart investments.
What's fascinating here is how Kiyosaki uses that direct comparison. He actually observed these two guys, these major influences in his life, and saw the totally different ways they thought about and managed money.
It's not just a story then.
No, not at all. It immediately sets up the foundation for all the lessons in the book. It lets you, the reader, instantly grasp these like polar opposite approaches to building wealth. It makes you think, how often do you get that kind of clear side-by-side view of financial thinking in action?
It's pretty striking how Kiyosaki kind of challenges traditional education right away. He basically says, look, we spend ages learning, I don't know, complex math or history,
Yeah, important stuff, but
but almost nothing about handling the very thing that dictates so much of our lives, money. What's the real impact of leaving that out of schools?
no, it's huge, isn't it? Kiyosaki really hammers this home. Rich people make financial literacy a priority because schools generally don't teach it.
So it's up to us to learn it.
Pretty much. And, most of us kind of get assets and liabilities from like an accounting class, maybe. But Kiyosaki's genius here is how he redefines them for your personal finances.
How so?
Well, it's not just about what's on a company balance sheet. It's about what really puts money into your pocket versus what takes it out. That distinction, that's the critical piece he keeps emphasizing. And honestly, it's a total game changer for most people's thinking.
And that idea, that financial literacy piece, it really leads into one of Rich Dad's most famous quotes.
Yeah.
It's almost provocative.
Which one's that?
It's, rich people acquire assets. The poor and middle class acquire liabilities that they think are assets.
Oof. Yeah, that one hits home for a lot of folks.
Right. So, okay, the simple meaning is invest in things that actually make money for you instead of just, draining your bank account. But what are some common examples of those liabilities people mistake for assets, according to Kiyosaki?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, this idea just fundamentally challenges typical consumer behavior. Kiyosaki points to things like, say, a fancy car you buy on payments, or even sometimes your own house if it's mainly just a place you live and consume rather than something generating income.
So, not always the great investment people think.
Not necessarily in his framework. So many things we're told are good investments actually just drain our cash with maintenance, insurance, depreciation, all that stuff. Understanding this is like a crucial shift if you're aiming for real financial independence.
Okay, but that sounds like it needs money to start, or maybe a high tolerance for risk. What about someone just starting out with not much cash?
Yeah, that's a fair point. And the book does address that, leading into another key lesson. It moves beyond just what you buy to how you work.
Ah, right. The idea of working to learn, not just for the paycheck.
Exactly. It's about choosing jobs or opportunities mainly to pick up valuable skills and knowledge, things that will help you later, not just chasing the biggest salary right now.
So you're investing in yourself first.
Precisely. This really speaks to long-term strategic thinking. It's totally different from just seeing work as, trading your time for dollars.
A transaction.
Right. Instead, you're building your own human capital. You're creating this base of skills and knowledge that can serve you for, well, your whole life, no matter who you work for at the moment.
But isn't that kind of a tough sell?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we live in a world that really pushes immediate rewards, getting that bigger paycheck now. How do you actually make that mental shift?
It is a huge mindset shift, absolutely.
Right.
We're sort of conditioned to go for the immediate win, the financial gain right away. But Kiyosaki really pushes you to think about how knowledge compounds over time.
Like interest, but for skills.
Kinda, yeah. It reminds me of that old saying, give someone a fish, feed them for a day, teach them to fish, feed them for a lifetime. This book is all about learning how to fish, financially speaking.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mhm.
And then there's the whole emotional side of money, which honestly we don't talk about enough.
So true.
The book gets into how common feelings like fear and uh, greed often hijack our financial decisions. And sometimes that leads to really bad outcomes.
Oh, definitely.
Right.
Panic selling, chasing hot stocks.
Exactly. And Rich Dad's advice on this is super clear. You absolutely have to understand and control your own emotions to make rational, clear-headed choices with your money.
Yeah, this raises such an important question, doesn't it? Like, how much of financial success is just crunching numbers, and how much is actually about mastering yourself?
Right.
Kiyosaki basically argues that your emotional intelligence, your EQ, is just as crucial as your financial IQ on the path to wealth. It's about not letting that panic during a market dip or that FOMO, the fear of missing out, dictate your whole investment strategy.
So it's an internal game, too.
Totally. It really shows that managing money is as much about what's going on inside your head as it is about the external market conditions.
Now, that's something the review really highlighted, which I think is important, is how accessible this book is.
Yeah, it's not some dense academic text.
Not at all. The language is simple English. It's full of these engaging stories and examples you can actually relate to. That makes it super easy to grasp, even, as the review noted, for people who read Hindi, or Hinglish apparently. There are Hindi versions widely available too.
That definitely helps explain its huge reach and why it connected so much with the reviewer.
For sure. And, okay, here's where it gets really interesting. The reviewer shared the one thing, the most profound personal takeaway they got from the book.
Okay.
It was this phrase, "Pays aapke liye kaam kare, aap paiso ke liye nahi," which translates roughly to, money should work for you, you shouldn't work for money.
Ah, yes. That core message.
And apparently that specific lesson just completely transformed the reviewer's mindset.
How so? Like, practically.
Well, it shifted their focus. Instead of just relying on a salary from a job, they started actively looking for investments, for side businesses, things that could generate income independently.
That perfectly illustrates putting the book's ideas into action, doesn't it? It moved them from just earning a paycheck to really thinking about building those assets we talked about earlier,
Right.
how to use that financial education, control those emotions, and ultimately build real independence. It's about going from being just a passive recipient of money to being the active architect of your financial future.
So wrapping things up, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it's really presented as this powerful guide to fundamentally changing how you understand money and, plotting a course towards financial independence. And our reviewers' incredibly positive take really backs that up.
And that 5-star rating says a lot.
Absolutely. They
Yeah.
gave a 100% U.S. recommendation.
Yeah.
They stressed that the book is super beneficial for pretty much anyone, whether you're a student just figuring things out, someone deep in a career, or even business owner already. The promise is it will take your money mindset to the, quote, next level.
Mm-hmm. A strong endorsement.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And, that kind of leads us to a final thought for you, the listener, to maybe chew on. If Rich Dad, Poor Dad suggests that our traditional schooling often misses the boat on these critical financial lessons, well, what other parts of life might benefit from a similar kind of, let's say, unconventional deep dive, into practical, real-world knowledge that could genuinely transform things for you?
Interesting question. Like, what other Rich Dad principles could you maybe apply to areas beyond just your bank account?
Exactly. Something to think about.